Is the housing market going to crash? Yep. Hey, I'm Jen, your Delaware Realtor. So I feel like no matter where I look right now, there's someone asking, is the housing market going to crash? My news feed is filled with articles and clickbait titles just forecasting this doomsday scenario. And I feel like on YouTube, there's a different video every day of people like me giving their take on the situation. And I get it. There is a lot of uncertainty in our economy right now, and that uncertainty makes people fearful, which then leads to media outlets, myself included, to try and capitalize on that and try to capture your attention by sensationalizing the situation. Some of these people are genuine in their attempt to add value to the conversation, and they can be on either side of the argument. They have a belief and they just want to contribute to the conversation. Others, however, are not so genuine in their motives. They just want to add fuel to the fire of fear in an attempt to grab your attention, which then yields profits in the form of advertising dollars. At this point, I think it's important to note that I do not believe that there is anything wrong with adding value and selling or profiting from advertising. However, this business model is prone to abuse. In order to maintain trust, media outlets must maintain the highest level of integrity. And unfortunately, we just haven't seen that lately. There has been an immense amount of distrust in the system, which has given rise to an avalanche of alternative media sources. I believe this is a good thing, but it's going to have its pitfalls and growing pains. And in this case, it's one of the biggest reasons why there's so much media coverage and everyone's asking, is the housing market going to crash? Or the stock market, or really any market right now? So with that being said, I'm going to address this question from both sides. We're going to look at the factors and variables that are opposing the housing market and those that are keeping it expanding. And then we're also going to look at the probabilities of each outcome. And then in the end, I will give my opinion on what I think is going to happen. So, is the housing market going to crash? The short answer is yes, of course it is. But the real question is when? All markets are cyclical, meaning they go up and they go down. And then that happens over and over and over again. Kind of like a heartbeat. So asking if the housing market is going to crash is almost like asking if the sun's going to rise tomorrow. The real question is where are we at in this cycle? How long do cycles typically last? What factors contribute to cycles rising or falling? And when can we expect the next market shift to occur? To answer where we're at in the cycle, you look to the last time that the cycle turned over, which was in 2008. In 2008, the real estate market saw the beginning of the worst crash in recorded history. It continued to fall until it hit its lowest point in 2012, and it began its steady recovery, which still continues to this day, 12 years later. Real estate cycles typically last around 18 years and have been recorded to do so since around 1800, with the only major deviation from this pattern occurring around World War II. This pattern is extremely stable, almost like clockwork. It consists of a sharp but short correction period, or a buyer's market, which typically lasts around 2 to 3 years, followed by a recovery period, or a seller's market, which lasts 15 to 16 years. The real estate market follows this pattern of ups and downs, but has historically been very stable and safe from crashes, even though it doesn't feel that way with the 2008 crash being fresh in our minds. This is why real estate is considered one of the safest investments. So now, if we lay this 18-year pattern over our current timeline, we see that the 2008 crash happened right on time. Although the pattern could not have predicted the severity of the crash. The correction lined up with the pattern, and given that the recovery period started in 2012 would mean we're 12 years into a 15-year recovery if the pattern continues to play out, We would then have about 3 years left of the seller's market. Now, even though the pattern has been relatively stable since 1800, that's not to say that there hasn't been minor fluctuations, given the exception of World War II. And it also must be stated that it's not immune to other variables. The two major variables that have the most impact on the real estate market is unemployment and interest rates. In our current situation, unemployment is a major threat to the market. If people don't have jobs, then they can't get mortgages or pay the mortgages that they already have, which could lead to foreclosure, which, if it happened in a large enough scale, could contribute to or even cause a real estate crash. Currently, the economic stimulus packages have helped to keep that unemployment number in check, and hopefully will continue to do so until people can get back to work. Interest rates, on the other hand, are having the opposite effect on today's market. They are historically low and are projected to remain low for the foreseeable future. I'll start with the positive outlook. As I laid out before, one way or another, this 18-year pattern is going to come to an end in the next few years. We will eventually shift from this hot seller's market into a buyer's market. That's inevitable. The question isn't whether the pattern is going to turn over, it's whether the bottom is going to fall out and cause a crash. Many experts point to a significant difference in today's market versus 2008 in the fact that many homeowners have a lot of equity in their homes and they are not over leveraged like they were in 2008. This means if the homeowner were to get in trouble and not be able to pay their mortgage, they will be more likely to sell than to walk away and go into foreclosure. And this is significant because with the level of buyer demand coupled with the low mortgage interest rates, the homeowner should have no problem selling that house and not going into foreclosure. If foreclosures are avoided, that significantly lowers the risk of a market crash. Homeowner equity, low mortgage interest rates, high buyer demand, unlimited stimulus from the government, and an inventory shortage with an extremely stable 18-year pattern paints the picture of a very healthy real estate market, at least for the next 3 years. On the negative outlook side, with coronavirus cases spiking throughout the country, unemployment rates we haven't seen since the Great Depression, the looming threat of a second wave of coronavirus, and the potential for more lockdowns, as well as the social unrest and political polarization of an election year, one could easily see the threats to our economy and stressing out the real estate market to the point of collapse. So after taking a look at both the positive and negative outlooks and reviewing the variables that affect the market, understanding the 18-year cycle, and understanding that although real estate market crashes are historically rare, they can and most likely will happen again. So now it's time for me to share what I think the future holds. So I do not believe that there is going to be a real estate market crash. Although I do recognize the significant threats that are mounting, I do believe in America and think that we will pull through this. But that's not to say that I don't think that we are towards the end of a cycle and we will soon switch from a seller's market to a buyer's market. That's inevitable and it's going to happen. But I don't think we're going to see a crash in the foreseeable future. My advice that I give my clients is if you have a house you want to sell, there is no better time than right now to do so. If you are a buyer, it is a great time to take advantage of the low mortgage interest rates. But keep in mind that we are towards the end of a cycle. So I would definitely pick a home that you plan to be in for at least 5 years, if not 10. There are definitely times to be cautious when shopping for real estate, and I definitely feel like right now is one of those times. Your health and well-being should be your number one priority, and you should definitely make sure that you have job stability before taking on a mortgage. I do believe it is wise to be cautious when entering into this market. However, I wouldn't allow fear of a market crash keep you from making the best decision that's right for you and your situation. Do not try and time the market. If you get it right, you got lucky. But if you sit on the sidelines, who knows how many opportunities could pass you by. Before I wrap this up, if you like this video, make sure you like it and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. So, will the real estate market crash? Of course. Given a long enough time, it is virtually guaranteed. Do I think it's going to happen tomorrow? No. So if you are a seller, I do think that it is the perfect time to sell right now. But if you are a buyer, Just make sure that you go in with a plan to stay in the home for at least 5 to 10 years. This way, if the market does bottom out, you will have enough time to weather the storm and wait for the value to come back up, because the value always comes back up. Thank you so much for watching this video. Remember that if you like this, be sure to hit the like button and share with a friend. Subscribe to my channel for more content, and I will see you on the next one. If you want to keep up with the most current market updates, click on this video right here. And if you want to tour some homes with me, click on this playlist right here. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel.